Hey guys, Alyssa Lebrecht here, nutritionist and gut expert, and tonight we're talking all about halting your flare and resetting your gut. Listen, when you're in a flare, it is the most anxiety-provoking thing ever, am I right? You might be sitting at home and watching this, and you might be in a flare right now, or maybe you have experienced flares several times in your life and you don't ever want to go back. But one thing that I want you to know is that this live is going to be super helpful for you because it's going to give you the exact tools that you need to know what to do to get yourself out of a flare. And there's some really big mistakes that a lot of people are making that are keeping them stuck in the flare. So I'm going to show you the right way how to halt your flare and finally reset your gut so that it doesn't turn into weeks and months of constantly in the symptoms. So let's talk about this. When you're in a flare, it can look different for every single person, but I imagine you're probably struggling with most popular diarrhea. Right? You might find that you're constantly glued to the toilet and you're spending a lot of time in the bathroom, and it's making it really hard to live your life because you're scared to leave the house. If you do leave the house, you're planning your routes around town. You know exactly where all the bathrooms are. Going to work sometimes feels impossible. In fact, you might even be missing work some days because you just can't stop pooping. Or who here is watching this and experiences diarrhea on a daily basis but finds that it always affects them in the morning, and so they know that their mornings are just a write-off. Like, just to never schedule things in the morning. And even if you're at work, meetings don't happen in mornings either because you're worried that your gut is not going to hold up. Now, diarrhea is really common if you're in a flare, but you can also be constipated as well and fluctuate between the two. But if you're constipated, you're probably sitting at home feeling like a lump on a log, feeling so heavy and full and weighted down like you have bricks in your stomach. And you might even find that you're so bloated from not having pooped that your stomach is sticking out and you're having to wear loose, baggy clothes, and even clothes touching your stomach just feels so uncomfortable, and so often you're just sticking into your comfy clothes and not leaving the house at all. And if you do go out, again, you're tending to wear these baggy clothes and hoping that no one's going to ask you when your due date is because you look pregnant. And problem going on in your gut, and I want to give you the tools on how to stop it. Now, the big problems, the big mistakes that most people make, the wrong way of trying to halt a flare is going into panic mode. And I get it. You're trying to think of like, oh my gosh, how can I make this stop before it gets worse? What if it doesn't stop? Right? All of these things. And so we start to make rash decisions, and we become so scared to eat because we don't want to make it worse that oftentimes you find yourself probably skipping meals. Who here has done this? Who here has been in a flare before? They're experiencing all the dang symptoms and they're thinking, I'm not touching food with a 10-foot pole because I'm either worried that it's going to rip right through me or just end up sitting in my stomach like a heavy brick. And then when I do finally manage to poop it out, it's going to feel like sandpaper moving through my colon. Who here has experienced that before? You're scared to eat because of a reaction. If that's you, drop a yes in the comments. For this reason, there's a good chance that at least one time in your life you've restricted your foods. Whether it's the types of foods that you're eating or even the quantity. So you might find when you wake up in the morning, your stomach is feeling grumbly and off, and so you're skipping breakfast or lunch or dinner or whatever. But also skipping important food categories like protein and even vegetables, and sticking to those safe foods, which are commonly carbs, breads, pastas, to try to weigh down the stomach and settle things down. But this sort of restriction is really not the answer. We're going to get to why that is, but even worse than this type of restriction is elimination completely. And so I've seen a lot this week in our free Facebook community. If you're not in there, come on in, come join us in the Love Your Guts IBS support group. But I've seen a lot of people talking in there this week saying that they're in a flare, they're really struggling with their symptoms, they're terrified to eat, and so they're living on water. maybe a little bit of lemon. They might have a little bit of soup. And guys, there's just not enough nutrients there for your body to heal. And so I want you to think about this kind of like your car. And so if your car is trying to go on a road trip here and it's on an empty tank, you're not going to get very far. So when we talk about when you're in a flare, we really need to talk about getting your body the critical nutrients it needs to repair and heal itself. Elimination is not going to be the answer for that, because then your tank is empty. And so what we want to do is really make sure that we take things beyond just elimination and start to get to refueling your body. Now, here's another really common mistake that people are making. When they're in a flare and their bowels are either ripping right through them, their poops are just like violent diarrhea, or they're constipated and finding that they're missing days, not going poop at all. And when they do go, they're having to strain really hard, and then they end up with these tiny little pellet poops, and they're never feeling satisfied after a poop. If that's you, then typically what ends up happening, whether you're in diarrhea or constipation, laxatives and antidiarrheals come into the picture. You know, your doctor recommends take the Metamucil, take the Restoralax, take the Imodium. But guys, we're not stimulant deficient. We're nutrient deficient. You're not deficient in Imodium. That's not why you're in diarrhea. You're also not deficient in Metamucil or Restoralax or any of these other products. You're nutrient deficient. And part of the reason why your gut is flaring and screaming at you is because it needs a little bit of loving. It needs some more of these nutrients. And so in order for us to, again, halt a flare, there's two things that we have to do. One, we have to refuel, stop the elimination, stop the restriction. In the Love and Trust Your Guts program, the most incredible thing happens when our clients are able to finally stop their symptoms while eating more food and more variety than they ever have before. Because here's the key thing, it's about getting you specific nutrients that help to accelerate your gut healing. And so again, restriction's not the answer. We actually want a variety of nutrients, because restriction in eating all the same foods all the time is going to put you at risk of creating food sensitivities. Eventually your body's going to be like, I'm out. I can't keep digesting the same foods all the time. This food is now, I'm going to reject it. It's now an enemy. It's now an invader, not being digested in the body. And this is a big, big problem, guys. So refueling. The second thing is stop managing the symptoms on the surface with Imodium, Restoralax. Don't go for temporary relief. These things are going to help, maybe help you for 24 hours. But there's two big problems. They're dependency forming. They're going to stop working eventually. And they're going to make your gut worse because the underlying root problems are still not being addressed. So the second thing that we need to do is get to addressing the root causative factors. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What are some of the things that you use when you're in a flare to help calm your angry tummy? Drop those in the comments, and then next week we'll be back with another juicy topic to help you guys keep fixing your gut and getting to the root underlying factors, and teach you how to make customizations for your individual body. If you found this helpful, guys, give it a like, give it a share, and we will see you next week. Bye.